Today, I'll be talking about the famous Shakespeare play, Merchant of Venice. So the play starts off with a person named Bassanio who is in love with this rich heiress named Portia. Now, Bassanio, he doesn't have any money because he wasted it all. So Bassanio goes to a friend of his called Antonio and ask him for some money. Now, Antonio doesn't have any money right now because all of his money was shipped out to sea. So Antonio goes to Shylock, a miserly Jew moneylender, for 3,000 ducats. Now, Shylock does not like Antonio because Antonio is like competing with his business. So Shylock says that if Antonio doesn't pay back all the money that he lends to him, then he's going to take a pound of his flesh, aka he is dead. So Antonio is really confident because, his money is out to sea. He could just say, hey, I want my money back, and he could just pay Shylock back. So he doesn't really care about that. He's really confident. So Antonio then gives Bassanio the money, and Bassanio finally gets to go marry Portia. But before that, Portia's father made a riddle for every single suitor who wants to marry Portia. Whoever gets it right will get to marry Portia. So there are 3 caskets: lead, gold, and silver. Whichever casket has Portia's picture in it is the right one. Now, there has been many people who have done this riddle, and they have all lost and failed. For example, there is the Prince of Morocco who chose the gold casket. The gold casket says, "Who choose me shall gain what many men desire." Now, the Prince of Morocco thought that this riddle meant that, all men desire Portia. So, he says, well, I think this one's correct because everyone, they all desire Portia, this beautiful woman. So he chooses the gold one, but all that is inside the gold casket is just a skull, meaning that he is just a greedy bastard who is he doesn't care about Portia in reality. He really just cares about the money, the gold. It's just about greed. Then we have the Prince of Argon who chooses the silver casket. The silver casket says, "Who choose me shall get as much as he deserves." The Prince of Argon, he thinks that it's silver because he thinks that he deserves a lot. He thinks that he deserves Portia. But all that is inside the casket is nothing, because you may think that if you were the prince, then you would be like, I have done so many good things, I deserve Portia. But really, you also done a lot of bad things. It's not about what you deserve. So really, in reality, he deserves nothing, which is what he got. Then Bassanio comes and takes the riddle. Bassanio chooses the lead casket, which is correct. The lead casket says, "Who choose me must give and hazard all he hath," which means he's not a greedy bastard like the Prince of Morocco. He is willing to sacrifice and give what it takes to help and save his loved ones. So Bassanio is allowed to marry Portia for getting the riddle correct. Portia gives Bassanio a ring and tells him not to give it away, not to lose it, keep it on his fingers at all times. Now, Bassanio and Portia are married, right? You think it's happily ever after? Well, no, because Antonio's ship with all of his money is lost at sea, and so he isn't able to pay off the debt that Shylock gave to him. So now Shylock is gonna take a pound of his flesh, aka kill him. So Bassanio tells Portia about this. Portia gives Bassanio some money so he could help Antonio pay off his debt. Bassanio pays double and even triple the amount that Antonio was supposed to pay back, but Shylock isn't having none of that. Shylock, he just wants to kill Antonio. Portia knows about this and disguises herself. She goes to Shylock and tells him that he cannot take a pound of Antonio's flesh, because if he does that, it's going to be count as murdering someone. And the only way he could take a pound of his flesh is by making sure when he takes the pound of flesh, Antonio does not bleed at all, which is practically impossible. And since Shylock is trying to murder someone, then that is considered a crime, which means Shylock is going to lose all of his money. And Shylock could also be sent to jail or executed by the Duke, who will decide his fate. Now, Antonio, he tells Shylock that he could keep all his money if he becomes a Christian, and Shylock agrees. So then Portia, who is in disguise, asks Bassanio for the ring. Bassanio remembers that Portia does not want him to just lose the ring and just forget about it. So Bassanio at the start is like, I'm not going to give you my ring. I promised Portia. Except if it weren't for her, then, well, he wouldn't have been able to save Antonio. So at the end, he still agrees to give the ring to the stranger. Then when he goes back to see Portia, Portia at first starts saying, "Where's your ring? Why did you lose it?" And before starting like a huge argument, Portia just reveals that she was the stranger the entire time. The Merchant of Venice is a very good Shakespeare play, a comedy with many good characters. As Antonio is shown to be a prominent merchant of Venice in a melancholic mood. Antonio is a very loyal friend, willing to do whatever it takes, even risk his life to help others. But when you guys read this at first, you may say that Antonio is like such a good guy, but there's also some other people saying like, what if Antonio was doing all of this just to like show off, saying, oh my gosh, look at me, I'm willing to risk my life for my friends, I'm such a good guy. What if he's just showing off? And then we have Bassanio. Now this person, you may say he's a good guy, like he's willing to help his friends pay off the debt. But remember, this isn't his money. This is Portia's money. He wanted to marry Portia because she was rich. He'll get everything he wants, a pretty wife. He'll become rich again. And like when he goes to save Antonio, he's giving money for it. At first, you may say like he's doing this to help his friend, but he's giving just regular money for his friend, which just shows like Bassanio doesn't see Antonio any more than just like a bank full of money for himself. Now, Portia is a very clever heiress. She is very smart, pretty, and clever at choosing the right options. And this story shows that clearly for all of us. as The Merchant of Venice is a very good Shakespeare play, and I suggest all of you guys read it as well.